Thank you everyone for joining. My name is Sarah Vanderwald. I work at the Jewish Foundation in Memphis, and I am in charge of a teen philanthropy program called B'nai Tzedek. And I know I'm excited to be here. I think the teens are all excited to be here. We've invited 5 Jewish leaders in Memphis who contribute to both the Memphis community and beyond. And you'll hear from all of them today. Just admitting a few more people on Zoom. And okay, so we're going to get started by introducing the 5 panel speakers. The first one is Jill Shanker. Jill, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Jill Shanker, and I'm here on behalf of the Uiberall Foundation. Uiberall Foundation was formed in 2010 in memory of my brother who passed away in an accident. And my parents and my husband and a couple of his very close friends came to us and said that they wanted to start something in his memory that could do good for Memphis. He was very much in love with Memphis and helping downtown and restaurant industry. And so that's basically how the foundation began. You'll hear more later, I'm sure. But I am born and raised Memphian, product of our wonderful Jewish community, volunteered at Federation. I'm currently president of Born Bloom Jewish Community School and just love being a part of our great community. So thank you for letting me be here tonight.
The Uiberall Foundation partners with nonprofit organizations in the greater Memphis area to fund new programs that better the lives of Memphis youth and impact the future of our city. These initiatives demonstrate high potential to positively influence students through education, mentorship, scholarships, and more. Our grant partners include the University of Memphis Kimmons Wilson School, Reach Memphis, Star Academy Charter School, Knowledge Quest, Junior Achievement of Memphis in the Mid-South, the Harwood Center, Memphis Athletic Ministries, Pure Youth Athletics Alliance, and the Shelby County District Attorney General's Office. Throughout the year, JUF hosts fundraising events to support these programs. This includes Play for J, our annual golf tournament, and Memsgiving, our Feast with Friends holiday celebration. For those who want to diversify their charitable giving, the Uiberall Foundation provides that opportunity. Through our grants, funds are distributed to diverse nonprofit organizations across the Memphis area. Uiberall Foundation, here to serve.
Thank you. And now we will hear from Amy Pregulman, who is representing KAVOD. And she will introduce herself, and then we will learn more about KAVOD from a video.
Hi, I am Amy Israel Pregulman. I am a Memphian who lives in Denver part-time, well, actually full-time. My husband and I started KAVOD in 2015 when we came to find out that out of about 80,000 survivors that are now living in the United States are living in poverty or at risk in some way. So we started in 2015 and started KAVOD with the Memphis Jewish Foundation at our as a partner who helped us get off our feet. And we started our first year raising and giving about $30,000. And then we're closing this year, our 5th year, dispersing close to $3 million. So we have made a huge impact, and we're so grateful to be a part of this wonderful event. So thank you for including us. And we look forward to hearing your questions.
I was okay until my husband passed away. And he was a whole year in the hospital. And all this I had to pay. So whatever we had, we worked both very hard and we saved money and we had a nice home. Whatever we had, we sold it and spent it in the hospital to save my husband.
And I recently went on dialysis and I have some dental problems and it just keeps adding up. And when you have only one source of income, you don't have the funds to pay for some of that. And if you don't fix your teeth, you can't eat.
People like me and other people on tight budget who are survivors of the Holocaust. We are all old and we are down on our luck, some of us.
Wow, thank you, Amy. Okay, next we have Joanna Lipman from Girls on the Run in Memphis.
Hey, thank you, Sarah. So my name is Joanna Lipman, and I'm the Executive Director of Girls on the Run here in Memphis. And we provide an after-school program for girls in 3rd through 8th grade that really helps them find their voice and empower them to be the best person that they can be, and to develop their confidence and their inner strength. So I have been living in Memphis now for almost 18 years. And I think that the Jewish community here is one of the most incredible communities that I've ever experienced. I'm a member of Temple Israel, a proud user of the JCC and all its resources, and just have really felt embraced by the community here. So thank you for having me.
Girls on the Run is an after-school activity for girls in grades 3rd through 8th that focuses on social and emotional development and creatively integrates running.
It's so much more than running. Running is almost like a sideline benefit because it really is building them from within, emotionally, connecting them to their friends, connecting them to their support groups. There's so many different skills that are important to every single person. And it's such a well-structured curriculum that it benefits every single person that touches it.
To me, Girls on the Run is girl empowerment. With this program, anybody can do it. Not just the small girls, not just the pretty girls, there's no label.
We have coach volunteers. We also have people that volunteer from the community. They come in to give their time up And the girls meet twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. For them to have people that don't look like them to come in and want to coach and want to be a part of their lives is so incredibly important.
I really like the fact that I'm someone that they can look up to and I can be a role model, because that's all I really want to do is be there for other people if they need me and they know that they can come to me with anything. And a couple of girls have done that.
There's amazing coaches that teach us lessons about life, and every girl keep up with their dreams and don't give up on yourself.
It's fun, creative, and fun. And you can run, walk, skip, hop, and everything. That's why I love it so much.
I learned to make friends and to be kind to each other. It's fun because I get new friends and I don't be nervous of anybody.
I think that this program is important because they're at an age where they're impacted by a lot of things. And this program can show them that there's so many other things that they can be impacted by.
I want to see Girls on the Run in every single school, in every girls or clubs, even in the community.
It has exceeded my wildest expectations.
To enable adults to have a really meaningful volunteer experience where they're learning, where they're connecting one-on-one with kids and with girls in their own community, and really understanding what it means to walk in someone else's shoes, both at the age that they're experiencing and in their circumstances. It's really powerful.
Thank you, Joanna. Next, we have Alan Kosten.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having me. I am the chairman of the board of the Herb Kosten Pancreatic Cancer Charitable Fund. It was started back in 2003 when my brother Herb died from pancreatic cancer. When I say we, his immediate family, his wife Marilyn, his two daughters Lori, Julie, myself, and a few other friends wanted to memorialize Herb in some meaningful fashion. And we came up with our Pancreatic Cancer Fund. We saw Herb struggle to find out anything about the disease back in 2003. The Memphis community was hardly aware of pancreatic cancer. I heard him speaking with someone, in fact, in Denver and in New York, who was a patient and going through the same thing he was. But there was no support in this community at all. Money was very slow. There were not many people, many scientists in this area doing any research in pancreatic cancer. So what we do is donate for pancreatic cancer research, as well as run a support group for patients, their families, friends, and anybody that wants to attend. We're pretty proud of what we have done over the years and plan on continuing until this disease is cured, quite frankly. My family, Herb and myself, have been very active in the Jewish community over the years. Both of us grew up at the JCC many years ago, and I have been on the board of Born Bloom, and I've been on the board of Beth Shalom Synagogue. Herb, in fact, led, I think, 2 trips to Israel while he was still active. So we have been involved in the Jewish community for a long time and hope to continue doing that, as well as with the Pancreatic Cancer Charity. Thank you, Sarah.
Alex Trebek died of pancreatic cancer last Sunday. And this year, the disease also claimed the lives of civil rights icon John Lewis and Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
November is Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month, shining a light on the third deadliest form of cancer. WMC Action News 5's Andrew Douglas shows you now ways to support research right here in Memphis.
It has been quite a journey. Very humbling experience. I didn't know anything about it before I got sick.
Catherine Gilbert Craig is a pancreatic cancer survivor. She was diagnosed back in 2012.
And when something is out of whack, go see your doctor. I mean, the worst thing or the best thing could be you don't have any problems, but it might not be pancreatic cancer. It could be some other illness.
Pancreatic cancer is the third deadliest form of cancer. It's often misdiagnosed, and only 10% of people who get it live 5 years or longer. Symptoms can include unexpected weight loss or becoming a diabetic out of nowhere.
People are living longer with the disease, and the cure rate is going up.
Dr. Stephen Bierman has spent 30 years working on pancreatic cancer patients and research. He's a surgeon at Baptist Cancer Center. Pancreatic cancer research is happening right now at the University of Tennessee in Memphis. It's thanks to the Kosten Foundation, a nonprofit born from the death of Alan Kosten's brother Herb, who died from pancreatic cancer in 2003. Since then, the foundation has raised over $2 million to help fund research. They also work to help those battling the disease.
A support group for people that were suffering from the disease and their caretakers.
This year, the Kosten Foundation's Kick It 5K is virtual. You can get together for a socially distanced walk or run at Shelby Farms Park. Catherine Gilbert Craig beat pancreatic cancer 8 years ago. She supports the Kick It 5K every year, doing what she can to stay healthy and inform people.
I'm a survivor and that there are survivors.
Our therapies are getting better, surgery is getting safer.
The Kosten Foundation in Memphis, helping with support and research while raising pancreatic cancer awareness all across the Mid-South and beyond. Andrew Douglas, WMC Action News 5.
And if you'd like to get involved in the Kosten Foundation and learn more about pancreatic cancer support and research right here in Memphis and the Mid-South, go to this story on our website, WMC Action News 5.
Thank you, Alan. Okay, last but not least, we have Susan Moinester of Hands of Mothers.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening and to see so many familiar faces. I've been in Memphis my whole adult life. I came here after graduate school, and I've been involved Jewishly in many capacities. Most recently, I'm a very proud member of the board of KAVOD and also the Beth Shalom Synagogue board. Our organization actually started as a family tzedakah project back in 2003. My oldest daughter, Ariel, was doing some volunteer work in Honduras, working with coffee growers, helping them get fair trade coffee. And she quickly realized that even though the men were earning money, the money was not getting to the families. The families were still hungry. The children were not going to school. And she, along with a Peace Corps volunteer that was working in the area, started a women's craft project that became a women's economic empowerment project. And then we realized about 2007 that this was more than a family Tikkun Olam project. This had the potential to really impact hundreds of lives in the area. So we decided to pursue nonprofit status so that we could raise money to fund our efforts and to help pay school fees for children and education for women. But a real turning point for me came in 2009 when my younger daughter, Margot, then a junior at Brandeis, spent a summer in Rwanda working with an AIDS organization. And there she realized the same thing, that women were not eating, their children were not eating, they needed income, even though they were getting good medical care. And I made my first trip to Rwanda in 2010, and that's kind of where my path ended as the daughter of Holocaust survivors it has been an extraordinary experience for me to see the living reconciliation that exists in Rwanda. As many of you may be aware of the genocide that occurred in 1994 that killed almost 1 million Tutsis. So anyway, my daughters are only peripherally involved now, but if it weren't for them, I would not be here today speaking with you. So thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, Susan. It's amazing what you can do from across the world. Okay, so we will get started with the teen questions. I think you all have an idea of what each organization does and contributes to this world.
So I have 2 questions. How did you get started with this nonprofit, and why did you choose this cause?
Okay, well, I was lucky enough to get started with this nonprofit because of a couple of other amazing women here in Memphis who we all had separately heard about Girls on the Run. So Girls on the Run is actually, we're a part of a national organization that has over 200 other Girls on the Run councils across the United States. And so a couple of us independently had heard about this organization, what it was doing for girls in terms of both empowerment and building confidence and creating empathy and providing a different way to get physically active, and thought, wow, this would be such an amazing high quality program to bring to Memphis, and couldn't all of our girls here benefit from something like that? And so we actually got connected to the national organization and had to submit a proposal. And eventually, through a couple different hoops we had to jump through, brought this organization to Memphis. And I think that the reason that I was so interested in this, and I think that was the other part of the question, is that I really, from speaking from personal experience, obviously I have a daughter and she's here on this call. And I think that for anyone who watches their child when they start to get to a certain age, all of a sudden they thought they could do anything and everything was possible. And then something happens when you hit this sort of adolescent age where this thing called self-doubt enters and the world changes, and it's a lot of different things to cope with. And depending on your circumstances, you either have a support system and tools to help you deal with all of those confusing things, or you may not have that. And there may be different kinds of stresses in your life. And what Girls on the Run does is it provides a volunteer opportunity for mentors to become really well trained and confident in supporting girls and in helping them get through this interesting time in their lives. And I thought that was as powerful as, I think for me, running has been a part of my life, and has been a way that I've made incredible friendships, understood like how powerful feeling it is to have those endorphins going with whatever it is you choose that makes you feel good when you're moving around and getting active, and how that is directly connected to I think happiness. And this program is so much more than running, but I do think that was something that I found powerful about the whole thing and the curriculum, is that it's all connected: our brain, our body, our heart. So that is how I got involved, and it started.
Okay. Did you start KAVOD on your own, and who helped you?
Hi, Adam. Oh my goodness. Thank you for asking. What a great question. I appreciate that. KAVOD was started by my husband, John, and I. When in the beginning, John was taking photographs, all the photographs you saw in the video. And he's taken over, I think it's 1,175 photos of Holocaust survivors across the world. And so with his interest in these amazing humans, we came to find out about this crisis. And so he and I together did a lot of due diligence to understand what was happening in this space of emergency services for Holocaust survivors across the US, which there was a lot happening. And what we came to find out, that there was a gap in emergency services and what a survivor is able to get and what they need. And so we started it together. We just figured we'd try it out and see what would happen. And 100% of every dollar that we raise goes to Holocaust survivors across the United States. We partner with Jewish Family Services across the United States. And then we have some amazing partners that have allowed us over the 5 years that we've been in existence to fill over 18,000 emergencies across the US. So to answer your question more directly, it was John and I, and together, along with a lot of great partners, our incredible board, and then donations, anything from $18 to $2,000 to $5,000. It just grew, year after year. So thank you for asking.
Hi, my question is, how long did it take for your nonprofit to get up and running, and was it difficult to get started?
Thanks. So our nonprofit is a little bit different. It's actually similar to the B'nai Tzedek model and the Federation model, where we fundraise and then we find other organizations who have programs that apply for grants from us. So our grants that we give out are typically to new programs. And it actually started in 2010, and our very purpose for fundraising was we were going to fundraise $3,000 to give, or maybe it was even $2,000, I think, to give to a scholarship at the University of Memphis School of Hospitality, which was something my brother was interested in. And that first year we were so blown away because we raised, I think, maybe about $15,000. So then the next year we added a couple other programs that were near and dear to my brother's interests. And then over time, it's grown over 10 years to where we've made grants over $500,000 in the last 10 years, and to many different organizations who apply to us that really all are youth serving organizations to help kids that may not have the things that are accessible to us and our children, resume skills, helping them get into college. So we partner up with other existing organizations who can run these programs, but they're programs that wouldn't have otherwise existed but for our funding and the donations that we've received from all the folks who are so kind to support the Uiberall Foundation. So it didn't happen overnight, but the very first part was actually very doable. So we had a very doable goal, and then it just grew from there.
Who did you get funding from, and was it hard to get donations?
Good question. Thanks for asking. We get funding from the general public. And at first, yes, it was very hard to get going. I don't mind telling you that. It was, at first, it was all about memorializing my brother Herb, as I said. And it took a while to get going to get funds for pancreatic cancer, because that's what we really supported. For instance, as I said, we started in 2003. We used to, our main fundraiser was a tennis tournament at the Racquet Club of Memphis. My brother was highly into tennis. In fact, he officiated the semifinals of a US Open event in New York back in the 1990s. So we did that for a while. We had great sponsors, and we raised sufficient amount of money to make some donations to worthy science labs and universities who were doing good things for pancreatic cancer. Well, we realized in 2010 that when we had a tennis tournament, there are only so many people that will come to a tennis tournament. So we were having 75, 85 people a year. And we decided to have a 5K. It was 10 years ago. So we would appeal to more people. And by God, it really worked. Our first 5K in 2010, we had about 300 people at Shelby Farms for our event. The word kept spreading, and the last year we were able to have the event. It's been postponed the last 2 years, once for inclement weather and the other, of course, for COVID. But the last event we had in 2018, we went from 300 to 2,500 people on the grounds at Shelby Farms. So we realize the word really has spread in this community about our organization and what we stand for. So yes, but now we're in a position where it's not just about Herb Kosten, it's about pancreatic cancer. And people have grown to know a lot about it and how deadly the disease is, and are willing to help us in our cause. Thanks for asking the question.
Thank you. Next, Ethan will ask a question to Susan.
Hi. What other nonprofit organizations do you collaborate with?
Hi, Ethan. Thank you for the question. We work under the auspices, actually, of an AIDS organization in Rwanda. It's called WEACT, Women's Equity in Access to Care and Treatment. And they started in 2003 in response to the fact that women who had been raped during the genocide were dying of AIDS and nobody knew what the disease was. And so 3 AIDS physicians from the US started this nonprofit organization in Rwanda to provide care to women. And that actually is the organization that my daughter Margot interned with when she was a Brandeis student. So we work exclusively with them and with the women that are in their program. And so far, we have worked with over 350 of their patients, helping them develop sustainable sources of income. And we provide school fees for 156 children who are also either children of their patients or are their patients as well. So that is our partnership. And everybody on the US side, including myself, is a volunteer. And then we have a staff of 3 Rwandan women in Rwanda that actually run our programs. And to echo what Amy said about KAVOD, 100% of the donations that we receive, of the money that we raise, goes directly into programming in Rwanda. We're funded 100% by donations from individuals. Thank you for the question.
So Elise, go ahead.
Hi. So my question is, how is COVID affecting your organization?
I know it's tough. Who wants to go first? Amy's shaking her head.
I'm happy to go first. Yeah, I'm happy to go first. It's been interesting as it has for everybody. What was so remarkable was because we are an emergency services organization, we built ourselves that way to deal with emergencies. And we had just received a grant to build our infrastructure, our systems, our operations, our back office. And so right before COVID hit last year, we had gone live with our new systems in January. And so when things really, when we realized what was happening and the agencies were shutting down and everyone was panicking about how we were going to get these services to the survivors, what was remarkable is we didn't miss a beat because of how we're set up. And so all of us work from home anyway, meaning the staff for KAVOD Chef, our team, and we work with the agencies virtually. And so we were able to partner with them from day one on how to help them. And so we went from and the other pieces, we were already doing direct payments to providers. So we were paying landlords and we were paying doctors and we were paying for different types of utilities, et cetera. But it went from those types of things to mostly food because they really needed those essentials. They were stuck at home and isolated and couldn't get to the grocery store. So we all became really innovative. And we started partnering with the agencies and their community caterers to do hot meals or community grocery stores so they could create credit systems to have groceries delivered. And we have been able to stay nimble and work with the community. So, COVID has been devastating to the Holocaust survivor community, and what's extraordinary, what has been built out of it. So it's been a privilege to be able to experience this massive transition collectively. So.
Okay, who wants to go next? Susan, you want to go next?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this has been a fascinating year for us as as you've gathered by now, the population that we serve in Rwanda is very vulnerable. They're very poor. They're all living with HIV. When we had these great plans for economic development programs and expanding our school fees program, but when COVID hit, it hit Rwanda very hard, and schools closed. Children go to school year round, but they closed the schools in March. And many of the women that we work with had small businesses, and everything was locked down unless you were involved in a food service. So we had to totally re-envision our program. And one thing that I would like to tell you about that I think would be relevant to the B'nai Tzedek students is the children were only given the opportunity to learn virtually because schools were closed. And however, that doesn't work for children that don't have any technology, no computers certainly, and they don't even have televisions. So the Ministry of Education, they were broadcasting lessons every day on television for those students that did not have computers and were not able to access lessons from their classes. But they were also broadcasting them on radio. And our staff was able, even during the lockdown, to be able to purchase 98 radios, solar powered radios, and get them to our families so that all of the children in our school fees program had access to daily school lessons that were broadcast over the radio. We also provided some emergency cash assistance through the miracle of mobile money, which is something we don't have here. It's like Venmo that anybody with a cell phone has. So it was actually really interesting because a country that is so, underdeveloped actually gave us the opportunity to provide access to education and to money that we would not have been able to do even here. So it's been great, and I'm really proud and pleased to report that all of our families are doing well despite another lockdown right now. But we were able to keep everybody healthy and continue their school lessons as we plan for better days ahead. Good to be small and nimble.
Right.
Sarah,
Alan?
let me
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I'd like to address two aspects of that, actually. One aspect is the fundraising phase. We haven't missed a beat in fundraising. People are very generous in this community, and in fact, all over this country, we receive donations from, I won't say 50 states, but a majority of the states. And they haven't missed a beat in their donations. We don't get a lot of large donations either, but we have certainly been very pleased with the funds that we've received. And as I say, we haven't missed a beat. The second aspect is our pancreatic cancer patients that are in our support group. We have from time to time 20 to 30 people in our support group that meets once a month. I've had great concern for those patients. Hospitals are completely overcrowded, and rightfully so as far as treating COVID. As I'm sure most of you have had, I've had several friends die from COVID, so it should be number one. But I always worry about patients that have other diseases, and are they getting the care that they were getting before COVID? Most of them say that I'm in contact with say they are, but I'm not 100% convinced of that. And that's why I'm so pleased that vaccinations are finally starting to be given, because I think there's been some neglect for patients that have other diseases.
Thank you. Jill or Joanna?
I'll jump
Jill.
in.
Okay, Jill's going.
So it's funny, Alan and I are thinking similarly. I would say there's two components to what we do, and one is fundraise and one is grant those dollars to our programs. And so from a fundraising standpoint, we have a golf tournament every year, which is a major fundraiser for us, which we did not have this year. But thanks to, again, fabulous supporters, very generous donors, we really were able to receive most of our contributions that we would have otherwise received had we had a golf tournament. I think when things are difficult and people are able to provide, especially in our community, I think people really do show up. The second component are the programs that we have. And I think a few of our programs were able, with the high schoolers, we're able to continue in a virtual setting. But for example, one of our programs is Pure Athletic Alliance. And this is a situation where these are young athletes, and the main goal of this organization is to provide them an environment where they can use their amazing athleticism, primarily in football, although during the pandemic they've moved into basketball as well, to help them get into college. And so while they have this great athletic ability, they don't necessarily have the ability to get the very minimum ACT scores or testing scores they need to be able to graduate and get into these colleges and receive scholarships. So when public schools closed and they didn't have athletic opportunities, this was the way that these kids were going to be getting to college. And with no sports, nobody watching them play, they might have lost their college opportunities. So we changed some of our funding, and we had some of our programs come to us and say, we can't operate the way we normally do, but here's what we'd like to do. And so one thing that Pure did was, instead of they had a very small group, they expanded and they pulled kids from all different schools and created an environment where they would ensure these kids were maintaining their educational standards and still being able to play the sport that they needed as a goal, as a means to getting them to colleges. So that was just one example. We changed a little bit of the programs that we fund to get those basic services. A lot of the kids weren't receiving the foods that they might have received at their after-school programs. So whereas normally like I said, we try to provide funding to new programs, we opened up into different areas and provided ways where we could just purchase food for these kids who weren't getting it after school. So that's just a couple of things that we did just to change so that we could meet the needs of the programs that we were already serving.
Thank you. Joanna?
Yeah, I think, so what I'm going to say sort of tags on to what Jill was talking about being a program that usually is held in person and serves girls after school on a school site. And that is typically how Girls on the Run is offered and how we reach our communities is the girls at their schools. Well, we were in the middle of our spring program and going gangbusters with everything. And then after spring break, obviously we had to pull the program like everyone else. And we thought, well, this was something that girls look forward to. This was a way for them to release their stress, to connect with their peers, an opportunity to just have a check-in. And how would we continue that when, we can't see the girls in person? I would say 65 to 70% of our kids did not have access to wireless or to any kind of digital device at that time. And honestly, families were just worried about the basics of survival. So because we're part of a national organization, we were able to take advantage of some of the at-home programming and virtual program that they had. But we really started to think, I think, pretty early on during the COVID crisis in the spring about what on earth was this going to look like for the fall. Our whole model is really about providing support in person. So how can you do that and give kids this important connection that they need during probably one of the most dislocating or isolating time periods that they're experiencing? And I know we've got all these kids on this panel tonight who I'm sure many times have felt pretty alone, very frustrated, not sure where this is all heading. And it's harder to connect with your friends and your peers. And then, we may be lucky enough to have families around that are here to just help us get through it. But what if you didn't? What if you knew that you weren't going to be back at school at all this year, that everything was going to be virtual? How could we serve our girls if we knew that we weren't going to be able to access them in our usual location? So we pivoted to a virtual program. I think being somewhat new, so this is only our third year of programming, we were able to kind of get a little bit more specific with how we were going to do this. And we just decided also to be super creative and say, okay, we have a virtual program. It's the same material. It's been adapted. We're going to train our coaches so that they feel super comfortable in meeting with girls twice a week on Zoom. Our national organization figured out kind of how to keep the physical activity aspect of it, the self-reflective part of the whole program. And our goal was simply to serve girls and to make sure that they didn't have to choose between something that would be a high point of their kid's day and relieve stress from them and from their kid, or to pay a light bill, that the financial burden would not be there for a program. And just, I was amazed, first of all, the generosity of human beings with their time during a time period when people are pretty anxious and have a lot to manage. They're trying to work from home. They've got a kid at home doing school. And, or there's a college student who is at virtual learning and has no idea where they're going to get their income from. They were willing to volunteer their time for the majority of the fall and twice a week mentor girls in our community. And I mean, COVID affected everything. Our 5K was a virtual 5K. And I think that, you know, one of the things that's fascinating, and everyone has said, is that the generosity financially, I mean, our virtual 5K was a big success. And it was a big success because we engaged lots of people from across the country and cheering on these young girls and their volunteers, and as well as raising money that we don't normally raise from our 5K at such a young point in our organization. I do want to say that as a nonprofit who relies heavily on grants and contributions, that COVID completely changed the grant cycle for a lot of the money that we usually depend on coming in the fall. So many companies have had such a hard time. The companies that are often so generous to nonprofits like Girls on the Run, they have to move their grant cycle, so what you're doing right now, from their usual fall to late in the spring and the summer. So that put us in an interesting financial position. But I've got an incredible board, incredible people helping manage all of the financial aspects of Girls on the Run. And we will weather this storm. And I'm just really proud that we are going to enter the spring and offer both virtual program and some in-person safe programs with new partners, new community partners. So just everyone is willing to say yes. I think that's the cool thing about COVID. It's made everyone more creative with less constrictions on how it should be done. And it's that idea of like, okay, well, why don't we just try it? Let's see what can happen. And so that's, I think, a really good lesson for kids too, is that instead of saying, no, I can't do that, or that doesn't seem like the right way to do it, COVID tells you, you might as well try. You have nothing to lose. So that's my COVID story for Girls on the Run.
Thank you. We did have one more question, Eliza, real fast, if we can squeeze it in.
Okay, my question is, if you could go back, what would you do differently with your organization?
Dream bigger. Dream bigger. I think in the beginning, we thought we're going to start this off and we're going to raise $3,000. And here we've done so much more, benefited so many more organizations, helped so many more kids. So I think that perhaps one of the benefits of being younger is that you're not as restricted by what you think you might be able to do. So I'd say hold on to that and dream bigger.
That is great. Anyone else?
I second that motion.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
I think that's a great, I think that crosses every line.
So I want to thank everybody for coming to meet with us tonight over Zoom. Obviously, if we weren't living in this global pandemic, we'd be meeting in person at a nice table with, records with everyone's names, and it would be, a little more interactive. But I hope you learned a lot from this program. I know I did. I've learned a lot from these great leaders that we have in Memphis and in the Jewish community. And this will be recorded, so stay tuned for the link if you are interested. And thank you all and have a good night.